So, how'd you guys do on observation? We'll see. That's what I got. It's a lot of crickets when I ask that question around here. How'd you guys do online? Remember, by the way, that you can comment any question to us, and our production team, which I wish I had a camera so you guys could wave at us, Kay and Chloe, they're going to give me questions. So if you guys have questions, shout them out. It's going to be like you're in the room. All right? Just interrupt me. It's fine. I like it, actually, a lot. The more interruptions, the better. So, our God is a God of order. That's one thing that we can learn when we're doing these patterns, is that there's patterns in the Word, which is really cool. The Lord is a God of order, and even when He writes, you see these patterns start to emerge. And the more that you study the Word cover to cover, the more you see these patterns coming, they just kind of pop out. You know, once you learn how to look at them, they pop out to you. It's amazing because it's almost like the Bible has one author. Right? right? Like the Bible is one story, right? With one topic. It's almost kind of like that. So, one of my favorite resources, which we're going to talk about resources tonight, is the Bible Project. Have you guys ever seen the Bible Project? Yes. You know, they do these really cool whiteboards that kind of just throw the whole book like on a timeline for you, which is really cool because I'm a visual learner. So the more that it's in front of me, the better. But they also have these other videos of themes and things. And one of the themes that they did was the patterns of the Bible. So I thought that we'd watch one of those videos before we get into our homework. So Kay, why don't you throw that up, the video. Check this out.
We've been exploring how biblical narratives work, and it turns out stories in the Bible are like any other story. You've got to pay attention to the characters, the setting, and the plot.
Yeah, these are the basic tools an author uses to help readers see the meaning and significance of the events. Now, it's time to learn one final skill that will bring all these elements together: how to detect design patterns in biblical narrative.
What do you mean by design patterns?
Well, the biblical authors have shaped all these elements, character, setting, and plot, to create series of repeated patterns that weave through story after story and tie them all together. When you notice these patterns, you'll see how different stories across the whole Bible have been coordinated to emphasize key themes.
This sounds interesting, but how do you know how to find a biblical pattern?
Well, biblical authors do it subtly. The best way to catch on is to watch them embed key words and images that link stories together. Take, for example, one of the main themes of the Bible, the complex and tragic human condition.
Okay.
So let's start at the beginning, where God is making a really good world.
Right, 7 times it says God saw that it was good.
So those are clearly important words. Now watch. God appoints 2 characters named Human and Life to rule this world on his behalf, and they're told that everything is good for them to eat.
Except for the tree of knowing good and evil.
So then the humans doubt God, and in Genesis we read, they see that it's good to take this knowledge for themselves. Then we read, they desire to become wise. And then finally, they take what they want.
And everything falls apart. This story is about the human condition.
And on its own, it's a really powerful story, but the biblical authors don't leave it there. They turn it into a pattern. It happens again with Abraham and Sarah. God brings them into the promised land, promises them a child. But they don't trust God, they get impatient, and we read the same words. They see their Egyptian slave, they take her and do what is good in their eyes. Do you get it?
Yeah, the stories match.
Then you get to Aaron at Mount Sinai, and we read how he sees and then takes the gold of the Israelites to make the golden calf. Or there's the story about Achan, who sees the gold of the Canaanites, he desires it and takes it for himself.
This pattern highlights how one person's temptation can create suffering for many people.
Exactly. It's just like the story of Saul, where we read that the Israelites see him. They desire him and take him as their king so they can be like all the other nations.
And Saul's reign leads them to destruction.
Or there's the story of David, which says that he sees Bathsheba, he desires her, and then takes her and then kills her husband.
And then David's family starts destroying each other.
So you see, it's just one basic theme repeated over and over. These stories are all designed to show the temptation pattern.
Which is kind of a downer.
But the repetition builds up anticipation. Perhaps someone will come and break the pattern. This is why the stories of Jesus have been designed to carry the patterns forward to their climax.
Really?
Yeah, like what does Jesus say when he's faced with his greatest temptation to avoid dying on the cross?
Not my desire, but your desire be done.
So the pattern flips, and you have one person resisting temptation, and his suffering provides life for many.
Very cool. Can we do one more?
Totally. How about a big one? How God brings humanity through chaotic waters into a new world. It starts on page 1, where God separates these dark, chaotic waters.
Yeah, dry land emerges as a home for humans to flourish.
Then the pattern reappears with the chaotic waters of the flood. God rescues this remnant, Noah and his family, through the waters so that they can step onto dry land and become humanity 2.0. Now, does that basic storyline remind you of anything else?
Oh, right, the famous Exodus story.
Yeah, exactly. That's when God saves his chosen people from Egypt by leading them through the waters onto dry land.
While Pharaoh and his armies destroyed.
The pattern repeats later with Joshua and the Israelites.
They passed through the waters of the Jordan into the Promised Land.
Yeah, you got it. So now you can see how later biblical authors will project this pattern into the future. Like Isaiah, he hoped for a new Exodus with a new king, leading God's people forward into a new creation. And in this repetition, the nations become the chaotic waters.
So you can see how combining all of these patterns brings us to Jesus.
Yeah, notice how all the Gospels highlight that story of Jesus going to the Jordan River. He goes into the waters and back out again.
His baptism.
That's when God announces that Jesus is his son, who will rescue the world from the chaos of our evil and violence by going into death and out the other side. This is why baptism became such a big deal for Jesus' followers. It's about participating in this ancient pattern, going through the waters of death, following Jesus into the new creation.
These design patterns seem really important.
Yeah, they're actually the main way biblical authors have unified these hundreds of stories together. And every pattern develops a core theme throughout the whole biblical story that leads to Jesus.
You can see that from cover to cover, there's these themes in the word, that just keep repeating. And there's all kinds of them. They just showed us a couple. So in the back of your book is a page called Resources. If you guys want to flip there, these are a list. I get this question a lot, so I threw it in the book. What are your favorite resources? And I just want to quickly go through these with you. So the first one is Bible themes. So this one's really cool. This is BibleGateway.com. This is like, how do you compile all these verses about a certain topic? Like if you wanted to study the feasts, or if you wanted to study sin, or if you wanted to study the seed, or if you wanted to study water, or kings, or whatever. Like if you have this one topic, where would you be able to pull all these verses together? These themes do that. It's really cool. You just put in the word, and it brings up all the verses with all the subtopics. So, like if you put God in, which is a huge topic, you don't want to use that one. You want to be more specific than that. But it's like God to man, God, Trinity, God the Creator, God. It does all these subtopics as well. So you can look up fruit, and it can be like harvest time. Fruits of the Spirit, like it has everything, and then you go in there and be like, this is actually what I meant by fruit, and you can pull all, it gives you a starting point to pull stuff together, because it's hard to find stuff. So I love that one. Next one, whoop whoop, Blue Letter Bible. Yeah, Blue Letter Bible. I love Blue Letter Bible. This is awesome. It's just really a Bible app. There's lots of Bible apps. I like this one because it's the one I'm used to. That's really it. They're all kind of the same. They're all fabulous. But I use this mostly when I'm wanting the Strong's Concordance. What's the Strong's Concordance? Some brilliant dude, somebody that has the wisdom of Solomon, I think, went through the Bible in the Hebrew, which is the Old Testament, and the Greek in the New Testament, and he assigned a number to every single word in the Bible, which is cool. And so anytime that same Hebrew or Greek word is used, it's assigned the same number, right? And so when you go to the Blue Letter Bible, you can pull up a text and you can actually pull up the actual Hebrew or Greek definition for that word or phrase, which is super helpful because our English is super sloppy, right? Like Greek has 7 words for love. 7 words for love, and they're all different. So I love my cat, I love my husband, I love Jesus, I love the sunshine, it's like these cannot be the same. Like I love my friends. We have the same word for everything, where they have categories. They have brotherly love, they have sexual love, they have agape love. Like, so when they come to the Greek word, you know exactly what they mean. So that's what this Strong's does for you. The next one is book introductions. This is gracetoyou.org, is John MacArthur's website. Now, disclaimer, I don't love John MacArthur for everything. And I'm not going to get into it, I'm just going to say, I don't love John MacArthur for everything. I don't use him, for instance, for commentaries and things. That's just, you can ask me about that privately maybe, but I don't use him. But what I do like, what I do appreciate about him is these book introductions. So when you come to a book and you're going to study a text, the first thing you do is, before the text, context, right? You got to know, like, who's your author? Who's your audience? Where does this fall into the timeline of the word? What's the social, historical, secular, government temperature of what they're writing? Like, for instance, the book of Ephesians. When Paul wrote to the book of the Ephesians, Ephesus was a hub for idolatry and false gods and temples. And so when he's talking about these things, if you know where they live, their neighborhood, it helps you understand. And so he quickly gives you, here's the author, here's the year he wrote it, here's where it falls in the biblical timeline, here's what's going on in secular history. And it's like all in one page, and it's fabulous. So I quickly, if I'm not familiar or I need a refresher, I go and look at his book introductions. The next one is cross-reference, just straight cross-reference. Here's the thing about cross-reference. You may, in your Bible, have a cross-reference Bible where it'll have a little letter and it'll tell you a cross-reference to the verse. Some Bibles don't, it depends. If you have a study Bible or something, it'll have that. I love my Bible, my actual Bible, but it is woefully insufficient for cross-referencing. And what I mean by that is, like, there's a verse that talks about, let's say, the tree that's planted, you know, and I want to cross-reference the idea of this verse, you know, like I want something that goes with this verse. Mine will take any verse that has a tree in it and call it a cross-reference. Like, just because there's a tree planted there does not mean that that's a cross-reference. Like, it's terrible. Some of them are better. Mine's terrible. So I need something that I can have at my fingertips for good cross-referencing. This is my favorite. It's Open Bible. It's kind of hard to get to. So in your book, I have the full website. openbible.info/labs/cross-reference. Then once you type that in, I hit the bookmark favorite and I hold it there. You can put in any scripture reference and it's actually going to cross-reference the thought of the verse. That's what you want, right? Not like, oh, there's an ant. Like, that does not help me, you know, at all. The other one is maps. Again, I'm a visual person. When I'm in the Bible, I like to see, especially if you're in Paul's missionary journeys, or Jesus is on foot and he's walking around everywhere, or Moses is out in the wilderness, and it's like, where are they going? Like, if you could map out their journey, what would it look like? I love this. They're ancient maps in the time frame. They're awesome. Bible.org/maps. It's my favorite one. Again, there's lots of stuff for all this stuff. These are the references that I know rightly divide and they're safe and I like them. So I'm throwing them out at you. History. As we know, the Bible is inerrant, right? And it's a historical document. But it's not an exhaustive historical document. And what I mean by that is the Bible follows really, I think of it as a spotlight of people. It started in the book of Genesis, and it's following what would become the Jewish nation, right? Then it follows the 12 tribes because they're all together. And then Israel and Judah split. And guess what the spotlight does? It follows Judah, right? Because why? The Bible is about Jesus, and he's from the tribe of Judah, right? So really the spotlight is following Jesus from cover to cover. So there's other stuff going on. Like even when the 10 tribes got taken off to Assyria, they lived there, right? I mean, the Assyrian nation didn't just poof disappear off the planet. They're still there. The Chinese are there. The Japanese are there. Like in the remnant study, we talked a lot about the Babylonians and the Egyptians. Why did we talk about that? Because all these powers were tug-of-warring off of Judah, but these wars that they were having outside of the spotlight of our text, whoever won those battles is who was coming for tribute or who was in charge. Does that make sense? So I would go look at the secular history to be like, when the Pharaoh and whatever the Babylonian guy was called, when they're fighting and Pharaoh wins and he comes and says, Neener, Neener, I won, I want to know what that battle was. Does that make sense? So the Bible is accurate. It is a historical document, but it only is following Jesus. The Bible then will bring other nations, pagan nations, into it if they cross into the spotlight. Right? If Judah is dealing with them or Israel's dealing with them, then it talks about it. All that to say, we need secular history. My favorite dude is Josephus. Flavius. I like to say his name. Okay? He is contemporary with the first church. He wrote everything in the first century. So he was real close to the action. He's not a believer. He's a secular historian, but they have, in this website, BibleStudyTools.com, taken his whole volume of history and categorized it by where he was talking about in the Bible. So what I mean by that is, it'll say, from creation to the flood. Like, that's how they volumed his stuff. And then he has, historical documents, and it'll say the flood to Babel. This to this. And so when you're studying, you find the volume that your text slides into, and then you can find his take, his secular take on the word. And it's fascinating. So that's that one. And that's my resources for the night. The other thing is Bible Project, which I just showed you. I love that. Your kids will love it. Especially when you come to a book of the Bible that you don't know, to watch their little whiteboard. Like they do the whole thing from start to finish and the whole book is on one page and you're like, oh, that helps a lot, So anyway, I love that one. Let's do it. Okay, so we're going to do the answer key to lists. Okay, the first one we did last week as an example. So we're going to do 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 4 through 8. So you guys tell me what you would call this list. Qualities of love, the way of love, the attributes of love, right? The attributes of love. Okay, and then what you're going to do is highlight everything in there, right?
Yes.
Which is a whole lot of stuff. Almost everything. You pretty much just highlight the whole thing, right? And then I have love is underlined just so that I could see it, right? All right. Let's go to the next one. Ephesians chapter 4, 14 through 18. This is 2 lists. So you guys tell me what you think. What's the first half? What would that be? Do you guys, first of all, did you guys see 2 lists?
Yes.
Okay, what would you call them?
The first one was against the rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers,
Okay, what's it making a list of?
the rulers, authorities.
Nope. Rulers and authorities is in the list. Okay, what's the second list? Armor of God. Okay, so this is how I have it. I have what we do and do not wrestle with. Right? We do not wrestle against what? We do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but we do wrestle against rulers, authorities, cosmic powers over this present darkness, spiritual forces of evil, right? We do not wrestle against flesh and blood. We're wrestling the spiritual always, right? Then it goes into the whole armor of God, and then you would just highlight everything in the armor. Right? So there's 2 in here. Like, oh man. Sometimes defining them is hard, but that's part of the exercise, right? Okay, I see a list. It's got to be attached to something. So then you got to try to define what that something is. So I just made it easy and said what you do and do not wrestle with. Just leave it at that. And the armor of God. Let me know when you guys are ready. Good? 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 All right, next one. Romans chapter 12, 4 through 8. This is a list of gifts within the body of Christ, right? Gifts of grace is great. Gifts, anything. Okay? And then you would highlight all the gifts. So you have prophecy, service, teachers, exhorts, contributes, leads, and acts of mercy. And then the second half of those is how we do those things, right? How you kind of act when you're doing them. Like, such as acts of mercy should be done with cheerfulness, right, Rose? It's not really an act of mercy if you're grumpy about it. So it kind of tells you how you should be acting when you're doing these things. Right? If you're doing prophecy, it's in proportion to faith. Service, in our serving, teaches, so it kind of defines it a little bit. Okay, good. Next one, Hebrews 6. This is a list of Ooh, that's fancy. Elementary doctrine, which is right there underlined, right?
Oh, that's cheeky.
Therefore,
It's like, now I see.
oh, dang it. Therefore, let us leave the elementary doctrine. And then there's a list of things that are included in the elementary doctrine, right? Saying leave it and go on to maturity, not laying again a foundation of, and then it gives you this list, right? What the writers of Hebrew is saying is that we already have the foundation. And these things that they list are the foundation of our faith. You don't leave it as in you mature, like you leave it behind, but it's like a building. There's a foundation that's meant to be built up upon. You don't have to keep laying the same foundation. You should be growing up upon those things, right? To go up. So that's what it's saying. Like, stop, like, let's move to the next floor of the building, is what he's saying. Okay, so elementary doctrine. Then, James 3. This is a list of.
Understanding wisdom.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that works. This is kind of a 2 list, 1 topic. But understanding wisdom's good as long as you have both sides of it. So what I have is false wisdom and true wisdom. Okay? So let me show you my list. There's a false wisdom or heavenly wisdom and earthly wisdom. That's another way of saying it, right? Wisdom from above or wisdom from the earth. So wisdom that comes down from, or false, right? False, oh, correct. False wisdom, bitter jealousy, selfish ambition in your hearts, earthly, unspiritual, and demonic, right? Okay. This is not wisdom that comes down from above, it says, which means there's a list of wisdom that is not from the Lord, or false wisdom, or earthly wisdom, whatever is opposite of what the Lord would give you, right? Then there is a wisdom from above, but the wisdom from above, last line, is pure, peaceable, gentle, open to reason, full of mercy, good fruits, impartial, and sincere. You see the 2 lists? So there's wisdom from earth, or human wisdom, or false wisdom, however you would want to say it, that comes from bitter jealousy, selfish ambition in your hearts, earthly and spiritual, demonic. Then there's wisdom from heaven, or the Lord, that's pure, peaceful, gentle, open to reason, full of mercy, good fruits, impartial, and sincere. So however you would say it. Or the attributes of real wisdom versus not real wisdom. I don't know. This is how I said it. It helps me remember. Got that one? Are we good on your side? Okay. They don't need us to slow down or anything? We're good? Okay, good. All right, next one. Titus chapter 1. This is a list of... Yes, qualifications or attributes of an elder, right? How an elder should be. And it's pretty much all of it, right? For an overseer, a pastor, an elder, they're kind of all interchangeable. And it tells you what they should be. So that one is almost all highlighted on that one. And that's lists. How'd you guys do? Good. I can tell. You guys good on this one? Okay, repetition. We're on to repetition. Next one. All right, repetition. I'm going to throw this up. The verse, I'm not going to throw up the whole thing though, because I don't want you guys to see it, okay? So 1 Samuel 8, 10 through 18, tell me what the repetition is. He will take. That's right. Underline the whole thing. He will take. Now, in context, this verse is about Israel, right? Israel wants a king like the other nations. And the Lord said, but I'm your king. I'm the king of the nation. And they said, no, we want a king. We want a king, right? And they picked the worst person on the planet to do that job. So the Lord says through Samuel, listen, if you guys pick dumb Saul, who turned out to be a disaster, here's what he's going to do. If you keep me as king, this is what I'm going to do. But if you pick Saul, he's going to do this. And it's a list, really. It's also a list of what he will take. But you can see he will take, 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 right? He's going to take your sons, your daughters, your chariots, which is your military, your fields, your well-being. He's going to take it all. If you dethrone me and put someone else on the throne, he's going to take, because our enemy steals, kills, destroys, right? So if you put something else on the throne of your heart, it's always that they're going to take. Okay, so he will take, and that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times that phrase is used. Yep, which is the point of this text. Yep. All right, 2 Corinthians 9. What do you guys think about that one? Oh, we did this one. We did this one last week. All, every, right? Okay, Philippians 1. There's 2 lists. Repetition. What are we on? Repetition. There are 2 repetitions. Okay. What do you guys have? Okay. So the 2 repetitions is me and you, basically. The pronoun that would be under I, and then you. This text is a prayer from Paul to the Philippian church. So I have everything in yellow that are the pronouns for himself. I, my, mine, me, right, in yellow. And then in the other color, I have you and your. So anything that would be them. So he is praying for them. And there is a lot. Look at that. So I, my, mine, me, that would all be one. And then you, yours. And that's the split. And there's lots. So this shows you that Paul is praying for the church, which is really cool. I love this scripture. I thank my God in all my remembrance of you, always in every prayer of mine for you, all making my prayer with joy because of your partnership in the gospel. It's like every other word is either I or you, right? All right, 2 Peter 2. There's 2 in this one.
Double bonus.
What do you guys have? Throw me out something.
I have
If is correct.
if God is
If. And righteous, righteousness, righteous, unrighteous. Right? Righteousness, righteous, unrighteous. If. Yep. This is a cool scripture too. About the Lord being able to know how to rescue his own out of tribulation. That's good. That's good news. There's a lot of frantic highlighting going on in this room. You guys just can't see it. Good deal. Let me know when you guys are ready. Or just make a note and go back and highlight later. Maybe you could do that. So just write down if and righteous, and then you guys can fill it in. Okay, 1 John 4. There's 2 in this.
There's only one.
Love. So is love one of them?
Love is correct. You're in 1 John. It's got to be love, right?
And God.
And God. That's right. Look at that. They're almost equal. Yeah, so I have God and his, whatever the pronoun is for God, under one color, and then love in the other color. And clearly this text, remember, you let the text determine the topic. Clearly, when you get into the tools and you start highlighting, you see the point of this text is God is love. Right?
Right.
They're interchangeable almost. It's really a beautiful thing. Let us love one another, for love is from God, and whoever loves has been born of God and knows God. God is love. Love of God. God so loved. It's everywhere the whole time. Yep. Okay, Isaiah 14. Oh, dun dun dun. You go from God is love to the worst text in the Bible. Yes. What's this one? I will. Of course, this is Satan's filibuster, right? In heaven before he gets cast out. I will, I will, I will, I will. The Tuesday morning crew pointed out, which I think is worthy of pointing out, is I will ascend, I will set on high, I will ascend, I will make myself like the Most High. He's going higher, higher, higher. But, contrast, right? The Lord's like, really, I'm gonna catch you down to the farthest reaches of the lowest pit that I have. And like you see this contrast of height really low. So you can pull all that out of this as well. Ascend, set on high. I am the Most High. But I'm going to bring you down to hell, to the fall reaches of the pit, right? So you can pull all that out. Contrast, progression, anti-progression. What is that? Degression? Yeah. Isaiah 14. Okay, James 3. No one wants to say.
Number one.
Huh? Wisdom. That's right. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. We're all learning. Spit it out. Be bold. Who is wise and understanding among you? And it talks about wisdom, wisdom, wisdom. Now, we had the same one before in the list. False and true wisdom. This is the same scripture, but we're looking at it for repetition, and the other one we were looking for a list. So, yeah, you guys didn't even catch that, did you? It is the same text. Again, observation, students. This should have this looks familiar. But see, when you're looking for something, you get tunnel vision, don't you? You guys didn't even know it was the same.
Wow.
It's the same exact verses again.
Why we're here.
Tricky. I'm like, that's tricky. I don't like that. I don't like that. Okay, progressions. Yeah.
Kelly.
Come on, Kelly. Okay, progressions. You guys, I have full confidence in you. All right, Hebrews 9. Hebrews 9, you guys. What do you guys have? What do you think? Nothing?
I did the appearance, but
Okay, that's good. Anybody else?
what did she say?
What do you have? What do you have? Nothing? Remember, you're looking for progression, something that moves. These are a little bit different. Okay, so here it is. In all that mess, to appear He has appeared. He will appear a second time. Yeah. So this is talking about Christ being our what?
Kelly says, I got it this time. 4 times is the charm.
Yeah, Kelly. That's rad. Good job. So this is talking about Christ being our high priest who appeared to be that perfect sacrifice in heaven. And now he has appeared in heaven on our behalf, and he's going to appear the second time, not to conquer sin, but to fulfill or bring our salvation to light. And this is a beautiful passage about him fulfilling the law and being that perfect atoning sacrifice. So this is to appear. He has appeared, will appear a second time. Yep, good job. All right, Hebrews 13. There is 2 progressions in this one. 2 progressions. What do you guys think? Yes, Jesus is the same yesterday, today, forever. That is a progression of that. Good thing, right? Aren't you glad Jesus doesn't change his mind about us? Like, you know what? Actually, forget it. I'm going to go do something else. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. And the other one is, I want you guys to try it before I flash it up.
Remember, consider, imitate.
That is correct. Remember, consider, imitate. So Hebrews is saying, remember your leaders, your pastors, the ones who the Lord has put in the head of you. Consider the way that they live and then imitate them as they follow Christ. It's kind of like Paul saying, follow me as I follow Christ, right? The same idea. Probably it's Paul that wrote Hebrews, so he's kind of echoing himself here. Remember your leaders, consider the way of their life, and then imitate the way that they are. Yep, good job. Good job, you guys. You're nailing it. All right, Philippians 2. We did this one last week as our example, so I'm going to skip it. Works out, works in, works for. Okay? 2 Corinthians chapter 1.
Deliver.
Say the whole thing. He delivered us, and then he will deliver us. He will deliver us again. You guys, this is another one. This is what Paul is saying to the Corinthians church. He has delivered us. When was that? When's the first time that you were delivered? Ground zero. At the cross, right? When you first get saved, he delivered us from deadly peril, and he will deliver us, right? Right now, whatever you need delivering from, or rescue is the word. He's going to deliver us now, and praise Jesus, he's going to deliver us again and again and again and again, and however many times we need delivering. God delivers us past, present, future. He saves us, rescues us past, present, future. He didn't just save us at the cross and say, good luck, see you on the flip side, hope you can work it out. He keeps delivering, he keeps rescuing. I love this verse. This is good news. Okay, next, 1 Timothy 4. Close. Practice, immerse are your first 2. That's the last one. Find another verb. Yes. Practice these things. Paul is telling young Timothy, stay in the Word. Stay in the Word. This is on the heels of him saying, Timothy, don't let anyone look down on you because you are young. but walk with me in conduct and speech, and keep yourself in the word. Keep yourself in the word. He keeps saying that. So he says, practice these things, immerse yourself in them. We talked about that with the word, right? Stay immersed in the word and progress, right? Practice, immerse, progress, and then persist. Keep going. Just because you've progressed in it does not mean you graduate. You don't graduate, right? You are supposed to persist until we see the word face to face. And that's what he's saying. Practice, immerse, progress, learn, go deeper and deeper, persist. You don't master the word, it masters you. You stay in it till you die, till you croak.
Table Rock is yelling out the answers. Just
Yes.
FYI.
I like it. Good job. Okay, you guys got that one? Okay. Colossians 1. Colossians 1, Table Rock. What'd you get? This one is a little, you guys could do this a couple different ways. I'm going to show you. There's a lot in this one. Do you guys have a lot? Cool. You're like, I have one thing underlined. Is that a lot? Is that enough?
I have longer words, but it says by him, through him, in him.
That's,
I did longer words.
you got some, yep, that's about 15% of it.
15.
That's good though, that's correct. You should have those underlined. Have they answered? Table Rock, what you got?
Just now typing.
Okay. Keep looking at it. We'll see what Table Rock has. Smarty pants over there. What do you guys think? Like I said, it's kind of two things that go together. You could either make two progressions or smash them together. And I'm going to show you that in a minute. Anything? Do they have anything? Oh, type faster! I want to give them a chance before I show on our side. It's 20 seconds behind for them, so that's why. Just keep staring at it. It's fine. They're still typing?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, we're gonna go for it.
Oh, wait.
Did they make it?
All things were created, all things hold together, reconcile to, honestly, all things.
Okay, that is good. So between the two house, we got it. Okay, so this is it. So I have them in different colors, and then I'll show you how you can also bring them together. So you have for by him, through him, for him, in him, through him. Right? They're all different. They're all different Greek words. They're all different prepositions, I think is the correct word. You guys have no idea. I don't even know. It's just a word to me. It's all the same. So by him, through him, in him. Do you see how these are all different? Right? In him, through him, for him. They're all different. All right. Then on the other color, I have all things were created. All things were created. All things hold together. And he reconciles to himself all things. Why is that a progression? Because he created all things, right? Then once it was created, he's the one who holds the whole thing together, right? Then he's going to reconcile all things back to himself, which is different. He's holding all things together, but you could be saved or unsaved and be held together. Because if you're created, you are held together in Christ, right? But reconciling it back to your heart, that's where you're saved also, right? So look at this again really quick. So that's the two colors, but then listen to it when you smash them together, okay? So by him, all things were created, which we know from John chapter 1, don't we? The Word created all things. Jesus is what came out of the Lord's mouth at creation that actually made things. There's the Trinity in the creation. It's radical, right? The Word created all things. So for by him, he did, all things were created. Then check this out. All things were created through him and for him. So not only were they created by him, but we were created for him, for his good pleasure. It says he created us by him, but we were also created for him, but in him all things are held together. So by him, out of his words, we were created, but we were created for his good pleasure, right? In him all things are held together, and then through him, through the cross, through the blood of the Lamb, right? He's reconciling to himself all things. And that's a progression, right? You're like, sure, whatever you say. Either way, this is a radical verse, so we can just take that home, right? Who cares what you highlighted? That's awesome. That's like the coolest. He is the image of the invisible God. If you've seen me, Jesus said, you've seen the Father. For in him all the fullness of God was pleased to dwell, and through him to reconcile to himself all things, whether on heaven or earth, making peace by the blood of the cross. That's how we are reconciled back to him. All right, last one in progression. 2 Corinthians chapter 9. There is one. Yes. Whoever said that gets an A. Tanya, good job. She can't even see and she gets it. She's half blind and she still gets it right. Okay, he who supplies seed to the sower will supply and multiply your seed for sowing and then increase your harvest. So the Lord supplies you with seed, right? Then he multiplies the seed that he gives you, and then you have this increase of harvest. In context, he's talking about giving, but I think it can also apply to the word too, right? Because the word is the seed also. We know that from the parable. You know, that parable that we got to talk about for 10 minutes before my power went out. Yeah, that was going to be a really cool study. We didn't even get started.
Can
Oh,
the
well.
last part of that be one? You will be enriched, in every way generous, in every way which will produce thanksgiving.
Yeah, you could put, enriched and produce. Sure. Yeah, are you still progressing?
Well, I think it's all the same thing.
Yeah.
But because
Yeah.
you're enriched, in every way to be generous, because you will be enriched, which will make you generous.
Right, because if you have a harvest,
To produce.
right, if you have a harvest, you can pass it on, right? Yeah, and produce thanksgiving to God. Sure, I would add those. So, yeah, I would say yes. I would say underline enriched and produce. Yeah, good job. Cool, that's progressions. You're like, okay, great. Okay, contrast. Last tool in your homework here. Contrast, remember you're looking for two sides of the coin or two cheeks, right?
I like that.
You have a butt, you gotta make sure you have both cheeks. You just do. I'm sorry. I'm weird. That's how I remember things. Okay, Matthew chapter 5. So let's just throw it up here. So what I do, I highlight your transition words because for me it helps so that you know you're looking for something before and after. So, but also so that, those kind of transition words, you know that it's connecting something together. I go ahead and also do that. That helps me know, do I have the front side and the back side of this contrast? And so you have abolish and fulfill, right, on either side. Abolish, fulfill. Christ did not come to abolish the law, he came to fulfill it, right? Okay, now this one's kind of long, but the whole thing is a contrast. So listen to this. Whoever relaxes one of the least of these commandments and teaches others to do the same. What's it saying? If you just bum out on the law and then teach others that it doesn't matter, right? He will be called what? Least in the kingdom. Now that whole thing contrasts on the other side of the but. See the but underlined and highlighted? So whoever relaxes these commandments and teaches others to do the same is contrasted with whoever does the commandments and teaches others to do the same, right? So somebody who takes the word seriously against somebody who doesn't. The one who takes it not seriously is called least. Whoever takes it seriously is called great. And that's your contrast. Yeah? Okay, next. Matthew 10. Matthew chapter 10. You have but at the very beginning and you have and at the bottom, which it's actually kind of a contrast word. Just, you know, our English is awesome. So on the top you have peace and sword, right? I have not come to bring peace, but a sword. This is about the gospel being divisive, even within families, right? Is what he's talking about. So peace and sword. And then at the bottom, it's whoever finds his life will lose it, versus whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. It's a direct contrast. Peace, sword, lose, find, life. I'm trying not to have dead air. They don't care. They're all scribbling on their side too, I bet. Good? Okay. Next one. There's 1, 2, 3 in this one. But. Okay, so I have 3. And so you're looking for both sides. So not according to the flesh, but according to the Spirit. Okay? According to the flesh, set their minds on things of the flesh, but those who live according to the Spirit set their minds on the things of the Spirit. Okay? Then you have flesh is death, Spirit is life and peace. Right? Okay. Good. Okay, good. The next one is entirely a contrast. I have almost every word doing something. Uh-oh, I heard. 1 Corinthians 15. So your transition words are also, but, as, so, as also. And that's how many contrasts you have. So you see all this underlined? All that means there's a contrast. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever. A lot. The whole verse. So this is what I have. So it is with the resurrection of the dead. What is sown is perishable. What is raised is imperishable, right? Sown goes in the ground, raised comes up. So I have everything that's raised or heavenward in one color and everything that's earth or under the ground in another color. That's what I have. So sown is perishable, raised is imperishable, sown in dishonor, raised in glory, sown in weakness, raised in power, sown a natural body, raised a spiritual body, right? Natural body, spiritual body again. Thus it is written. Are you guys with me?
Yeah.
Thus it is written, the first man, Adam, became a living being. The last Adam became a life-giving spirit. Last Adam, by the way, Bible students, is a title for Jesus, right? So whenever you see last Adam, don't let that freak you out. Just talking about Jesus, okay? So Adam became a dude, right? Just a guy. But Jesus became a life-giving spirit. But it is not the spiritual that is first, but the natural, then the spiritual. Natural, spiritual, right? The first man, Adam, was from earth, a man of dust. The second man, which is who? Jesus, is from heaven. Okay? As was the man of dust, so also are those who are of the dust. I have that all in blue because we're still going down. As, here's your contrast, the man of heaven, so also are those who are of heaven. Right? Just as we have been born the image of the man of dust, right? We're born after Adam. We shall also, thank Jesus, bear the image of the man of heaven. That's Jesus Christ, right? Whew. That is sanctification. We're going from Adam to the second Adam. Earth to heaven. The whole thing is a contrast. I know you guys got that. Easy. Easy peasy. For shizzle. Good job. You guys good on that one?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. James chapter 1. This one is also almost fully highlighted. Whoops. Are we still good for Table Rock? Still good. They need to speak up if they're not. Yeah, we're a freight train over here. Okay, James chapter 1. But. Okay, but be doers of the word and not hearers only, right? Doers, not hearers. Again, I have what we should be doing in one color, what we should not be doing in another color. That helps me a lot. Okay, so we should not just be, we should be doers, not just hearers. So I've got doers in pink, hearers in blue, and that's the vein that I'm going to carry on, okay? So a hearer of the word in blue, if anyone is a hearer of the word and not a doer, that's your contrast, is like a man who looks intently at his natural face in a mirror, for he looks at himself, then goes away at once and forgets what he looks like. Kind of all that's one thing. I just highlighted the main phrases. Okay? Because it's going to contrast exactly all of that with but the one who looks not into a mirror but into the perfect law, the law of liberty, and perseveres, right? Now it's kind of a parenthesis, being no hearer who forgets, but a doer who acts, he will be blessed in his doing. All blue. If anyone thinks he's righteous, but he can't keep his tongue quiet, right? But deceives his heart, this person's religion is worthless. So you have worthless religion contrasted to true religion. Religion that is pure and undefiled before God the Father. This is to visit orphans and widows in their affliction and to keep oneself unstained from the world.
Table Rock says they're doing good.
Good. Okay, so that's your contrast. So you have people that are really working out their faith, doing the word, versus people who it's all lip service. They hear it, they have lip service, but there's nothing going on inside, right? And that's the point of pretty much James. Like, practical, get your act together, do what you say. James. We like James. Okay, 2 Corinthians chapter 4. We did this one. Okay, so we already did this one. So here it is really quick on this screen, but I'm flipping the page. Oh, that's it. We're done. Okay, so we already did this one. Good. Woohoo. Okay. All right, awesome. So we are going to finish out the night on another thought on progressions page. So in your homework, you were supposed to read John chapter 20, 3 through 8 a couple times, right? Did you guys do that? Yes. Yes? Okay, good. I got to go back to my notes now. Okay, so I want to show you something about what may look like repetition, and sometimes it's not. This is the tricky thing about English. Because the original reader of the original Greek text would not see repetition at all because every single word is different. But we do because of our sloppy English translations. Okay, so that's one of these tricks about repetition is sometimes it's not repetition at all. We're just using the same word for love. Right? In fact, as a very practical example of that, John chapter 21. Peter is fishing, right? Jesus calls him from the shore. Peter bails out of this is post-resurrection, post-denial, post-chicken trouble, right? All that. Peter runs to the shore, and Jesus has breakfast there, and he asks Peter, Peter, do you love me? Remember that? And then Peter responds, Lord, you know that I love you. And they're having this exchange, and Jesus asks 3 times, and Peter responds 3 times, and in our English, it looks like Peter's saying, I love you, every time. But he's not saying that at all. And that's the trouble. Jesus asks, Peter, do you agape me? Do you love me unconditionally? Will you die for me? Are you going to follow me all the way through to the end, Peter? And Peter says, you are my homeboy. I phileo you. We're buds. We're friends. So Jesus is trying to get Peter to make a confession of commitment and love, and Peter just can't get there. And so our English, and then it says that Peter started getting really frustrated because the Lord kept asking him the same question. And you're like, yeah, Peter keeps saying, I love you. No, he's not. He's not saying it. And that's where we lose it. But if you read it in Greek, they wouldn't have any problem with the text at all. So that's where, you look like, oh, look all this repetition. Love, 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 love. No, not in the original. Okay, so I'm going to show you that with this John passage. Okay, so the context of the passage is that it's Resurrection Sunday. The women have already been to the tomb. They were going to come with their herbs and their spices, and they were going to take care of the body because they ran out of time on Friday. The Sabbath kicked in and they had to stop, right? They couldn't finish the job. So they were coming on Sunday to finish the job, and they were met by angels and the gardener that they thought was a gardener, and like all this, the synoptic gospels kind of have all this, you kind of got to put it all together. But all that to say, the girls had already been there. They already know that Jesus is resurrected. They go back to the upper room where everybody's hiding and says, he's risen, right? Well, John and Peter say, well, we're not going to take word for some emotional girls. We're going to go see for ourselves. They chance it. They leave the upper room, okay? And they're going to go to the tomb. And that's the context of these verses. So I have some pictures and the text up on the slide. So follow along with me. Check this out. Okay, so Peter went out with the other disciple, and they were going toward the tomb. Now, question, another thing for Bible students. Who is the other disciple? It's John. In John, John never names himself. He's always the one that Jesus loves, the one that reclines the closest. I'm his favorite, the other disciple. Like he has all these, like we can't figure it out. He's trying to be humble, but like we know who it is. So it's Peter and John, okay? They're going towards the tomb. Both of them are running together, but the other disciple, he was faster. I love this. John's like, I just want you to know I beat Peter to the tomb. Okay, the other disciple outran Peter and reached the tomb first. So John runs and he stops at the outside as this picture shows, okay? Then John, he stoops and he looks in and he saw the linen cloths lying there, but he did not go in. So he stopped right at the entrance. He peers into the tomb and he sees these linen cloths, right? Then Simon Peter came following him and he beelined it straight into the tomb. He just kept running, hit the wall. He saw the linen cloths lying there and the face cloth, which had been on Jesus' head, not lying with the linen cloths, but folded up in a place by itself, right? Then the other disciple, who had reached the tomb first, in case we forgot, in case that slipped your mind from one verse ago, he wants us to know, I just want you to remember, that the faster one, he also went in and he saw and believed. Okay, so that's the text, just observing it. I can't show you that. Just observing it. Okay, now, what is the repetition? Do you guys see something that's repeated 3 times? That John was faster. What do you guys think? Saw. Okay, saw. That's correct. So verse 5, it said that he saw the linen cloths lying there. Do you guys see that? He saw it. In verse 6, it says he saw the linen cloths lying there. In verse 8, it says he saw and believed, right? Okay, so in verse 5, stooping in, he saw the linen cloths lying there. Who is that?
John.
That one's John, right? That one's John. Then, in verse 6, Simon Peter following, he went into the tomb and he saw the linen cloths lying there. So verse 6 is Peter, right? Then in verse 8, the other disciple, who was faster, this is clearly John, he saw and believed, right? But you have saw 3 times. Okay, we would say repetition, right? You could even put in there, saw the linen cloths, right? John saw the linen cloths. Peter saw the linen cloths. John saw the linen cloths and believed. It just doesn't tell you, but that's what he's looking at if you just read the text, right? He saw and believed. So these words saw, they look like repetition to us. They are not repetition. These are 3 very different Greek words. Okay, so check this out. He saw the linen cloth lying there. In verse 5, it is blepo. Blepo. That is totally how you say it. I know that's right. It's got to be blepo. That sounds Greek. It's not, I'm sure. But it means to see it. It means what you think it means. It means to look at something. Like I see the plant. It's sitting right there. Okay, I see Brooke, she's sitting over there. That's exactly what it sounds like. This is what we would use, I saw the truck, I saw the cloud. To see with your eyes, to look at. That's the actual definition. To see with your eye, to look at. In verse 6, though, it's a different word. He saw the linen cloths lying there. The Oreo. The Oreo. The Oreo. Yes. The Oreo. Click it one more time, Kay. It froze on you again. There you go. The Oreo. I don't think that's probably how you say it, but that's what it looks like. Yes, the Oreo. This means to think about it, to perceive and discern. Okay? To perceive and discern. It is not actually has nothing to do with looking at something with your eyes. It doesn't even mean that. It means to think about it, to process it, to discern it, to perceive something. It actually has nothing to do with looking at it at all. It's all what you're doing with your mind. To think about it, it's really a process. Like, Okay? So in the first saw, John, he looks into the tomb, and it says he sees it. He's just looking in, right? He's looking in the tomb. He sees the linen cloths. That's it. That's as far as it mentally goes for him until Peter beelines past him, goes into the tomb. He also sees the linen cloths, but he's really thinking about it. He goes, And he's the one in his verse that says there's linen cloths over there. There's this face cloth right here. What does that mean? He's really processing the tomb that is empty. He's thinking about it. What does that mean? What does it mean? He's thinking about it. Okay, verse 8 is a different word. It's not to see it. It's not to think about it. In verse 8, it says that John saw and believed. Saw and believed. Okay? This is Edo. Minions. Never mind. That's Beto, huh?
That is
Oh,
Beto.
sorry. Chloe's like, no, you idiot. It's not Edo. Well, it is right now. In Greek, it is. Edo. Okay, this means to understand it, but listen, it's more than that. Here's the definition. To know the force and meaning of something, definitely. To know the force, listen to this, you guys. This is so cool. To know the force and meaning of something, definitely. He is sure. To know the force in me. So John comes in. Peter's thinking about it. He's processing the tomb. He's processing that it's empty. John comes in. He sees the linen cloths and immediately goes, I know what's up. I know what this means. And it says he did what? He believed. Why? Because he saw the linen cloths and says he is risen. He knew the force and meaning of what those folded cloths meant, definitely, and it says that John believed. That's how he got there. Because he sees something, not just to look at it, as our English says. That's, oh yeah, look, some linen, I believe. That is not what the Greek says. It says that he understood these cloths with force. It roared in his spirit. His heart lit on fire. He knew it by force and meaning, and he could do nothing else but believe he is risen. It means that he knew it definitely. The gospel took root in John's heart, and he was transformed that day, not just because he saw some dirty cloths lying on the bench. It's a different word. It means the force of something. So that is that's the Greek and the Hebrew. You know, the reason why there's Greek and Hebrew is because the Old Testament's written in Hebrew, the New Testament is written in Greek. This is a New Testament verse, and so you're looking at the Greek. And I'm telling you what, as a Bible student, you have to look it up. You just do. Like, man, that's tedious. No, it's not. Look at this one text. Super cool, you guys. That's just one couple, just a handful of verses where we would go saw. No, it's actually a progression. Here's the thing about these saw verses is, why is it a progression? Because we learn things, right? Understanding comes by degrees. We talked about that. Like with the Samaritan in Bible study, things come by degrees. And when you see something, first you just have to see it. Then you have to understand it. Then you can apply it, which is exactly what this is, isn't it? Observation, interpretation, application. He saw it, he observed it, then he really thought about it. What does this mean? Once that clicked for him in the text, the progression was he could apply it. He knew it by force, and it changed his life. You see. And that's how we progress with the Lord. That's how we progress in the Word. And that's what happened at the tomb. It went from just looking at something to knowing it. Right? Knowing it so well that all the disciples, they gave their lives up for Christ. That's not just looking at it, that's knowing it. Or else that would have never happened. They would have never done that. So, that is the cool thing about looking it up. So, your homework, you guys, is 1 page. You're like, what?
I was waiting.
Yes, 1 page. It's page 21. See what you can find. Okay? This is Colossians chapter 3. Let me tell you about what this is. This is a blank page of raw text. When you look at your Bible, this is what you get, right? A blank page, raw text. Nobody's telling you, look for list, look for contrast, look for repetition. You just have to look at it, and you got to get your hammer out. You got to get your screwdriver out. You got to get everything out and go for it. So I'm telling you that in this text, there are lists, contrast, repetition, progression, and like lots of it. Now here's the thing. I'm going to show you my work at the beginning of class next week. That page is something I've been adding to every time I do this class. Okay? Which means every time I look at the text, I see more. So if you look at mine and go, what? Okay, that is 8 times through. Okay? So if you see anything, I say, well done, because you're learning your tools, right? So here's what I propose. Every day, give it a whack. Give it a shot. Give it a try. Sit down with it for 10 minutes, 15 minutes a day, and then come back to it the next day and the next day and see what you can find. That's what it's called. See what you can find. Go for it. Okay? So it's just practicing using these tools on raw text without any prompts. That's what we're going for. So that's your homework. The other thing that I want you to do is go back and look through these answer keys that I gave you and see how we got there. If you made extra highlights tonight or underlines, go back and look at it on your own time and just kind of read through it, look at it. One more thing for homework. Next week, you say, I don't understand. How did you find those words? How'd you do it? How do you know saw? How do you know? Blue Letter Bible, right? One of my resources, I told you, it's my favorite thing. It's easy to use. Next week, I'm going to show you how to use it, because next week homework, you're going to be in Blue Letter Bible the entire time. Okay, so you need to bring a device of some sort that has Blue Letter Bible. Tablet, laptop, phone. You can download the app. It's free. Blue Letter Bible, just go to the Play stores, download it, bring your laptop, something that you can use the Blue Letter Bible, and I'm going to show you how to use it.